Kal Gyimesi, who is the Industry Marketing Director for IoT at IBM, and I hope I pronounced your surname correctly, talking about the new gold rush, data attraction strategies, and the Internet of Things. Wherever you are, there we go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation to come to this event. It's for anybody who's in the front of the room, I mean, it's standing room only out the back of the door, and people are working hard to get in, so it's certainly incredibly valuable presentations. And so we're happy to be here. You know, everybody is working hard at this concept of figuring out what the Internet of Things means, how to make it work, how to fulfill its promise, observing, qualifying all the information that is flowing in every direction. And we would submit, though, that it's not a new thing. It's something that's been going on for a long time now, even though this Internet of Things is a much hyped phrase right now. In fact, when I took a look at the Gartner hype cycle, I found that it's right at the peak right now. So those of you guys that follow Gartner and the analysts there, Internet of Things is showing at the peak. So we could be in for a little bit of rough time as maybe some interest drops off or some disillusionment comes along for a little bit, but I think that's okay. The technology is real, the software is real, the capabilities are real, and it's going to continue to be built out, and that's no problem. We actually started with our own story back in the early stages of this global transformation. And what we did, the original messaging around this story did a great job in defining what the Internet of Things is all about. So we called it A Smarter Planet, and I'm sure you've seen commercials. And we defined it by the 3 I's. The first is instrumented. Water meters, soil tills, cars, jet engine planes, everything around us is instrumented every which way that we can imagine. We're acquiring data off of this, and everything is connected either to tell information about the physical space around us or the people that are using it. Interconnected. Every part of this, these instrumented objects, these things, they're all now communicating with each other, with other people. Connections are being made. New applications are being developed, new ways of thinking, all being interconnected, some things for the first time and some from a variety of different sources. And finally, new insights, transactions, social connections, all of this coming off in reams and streams of data to form massive near real-time structured and unstructured. The unstructured data as important as any of the structured data that comes off the Internet of Things. All of this data capable to be accessed, analyzed, dissected, and put back together in a variety of different new ways. So this last one is perhaps the most important of the 3 I's. We call it intelligent, and we can still argue that we're still figuring out a lot of the parts of the intelligent piece of this. But you know, all of the intelligence and the ability to filter through the data, establish relevance, make it actionable, and supply it to your business and drive context to it is all part of making this data more intelligent. So when we look around us today, we see that when IBM first introduced the 3 I's way back in 2008, it was actually pretty insightful. Perhaps it's even a little bit ahead of its time. The key to becoming intelligent is creating a consistent language around those connections and the data that those instrumented devices are generating. So with that in mind, I want to offer a few different ideas, 3 different ideas about the spirit of this quote. And the first is that the Internet of Things is both similar and dissimilar to the conventional internet. And as we looked at this across our different clients and our different applications, we think there's approximately a 70% overlap between the two. And so if you have a very strong, highly effective internet strategy, you're probably far ahead of those that don't, and you're going to be much better off enabling and making the Internet of Things work for you than those who are struggling with that. But there remains about 30% that's unique and different and doesn't overlap so cleanly with other conventional internet strategies. And the devil is in that 30%. And to be successful moving forward, you have to understand that 30%, accommodate for it, and those that don't will likely fail. So we summarized that 30% up into, for simplicity, into 4 primary areas. First is around devices. Different devices, more and more devices, new ones coming up every day, and all of these devices are need to be able to connect into a common language. And I'll give you an example, one that I was, I guess, a little bit surprised by. I was meeting with one of our business partners just a couple of days ago, and he was telling me about how they had to create a new device for being able to measure the energy in public housing developments. The public housing developments were built a long time ago. They had crude methods of managing the energy that they were using, and they basically allocated it out to units by, the cost out to units by size, and nothing more intelligent than that. And obviously that leads to gross inefficiencies, all sorts of bad behavior, and no way to optimize this process. So they had to create some new devices to be able to capture the energy and build out the instrumentation into each housing unit. And that way they were able to change the behavior of the residents and allocate energy differently and save a tremendous amount of overall energy. Now, they may not be the only ones doing that, so there may be a half a dozen or more other types of companies that are also building these types of devices, all a little bit different, all a little bit different approaches. And so this explosion of different types of devices that we have to interact with is a key difference that we have to deal with in the Internet of Things. Second is protocols, different rules for data exchange between different systems. If we think about the analogy of the Tower of Babel story, where if we're not all speaking the same language, then we're not able to all build and communicate with all of these devices together. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail coming up at the end of this particular part of this presentation, because IBM has some solutions there. Third is different types of analysis. Okay? And of course, different types of analysis are all growing exponentially. IoT is defined by data in motion. So we're not analyzing data sitting at rest anymore, but we have to be able to analyze data in motion. Often the latency of that data is critical to being able to effectively react to whatever it is that issue that we're trying to affect through the data we're collecting. And being able to analyze stream data that is moving and rapidly coming off of a device is critical. But also, I'll talk a little bit more later about historical data. There's tons of historical data is out there that connects to the device data that we're collecting off of, and that's just as important and just as ripe with value. So we have to put all those things together, and I'll give you a very specific example shortly. And the last one is around different partners. So the types of partners that we may have to come together with may be very different from our traditional internet partners or our traditional IT partners in order to enable and make the Internet of Things work. And so what IBM has done is a couple of things. We have added to we've been more aggressive with our business partners in getting Internet IoT partnerships going. We've also added in our Partner World site a new Internet of Things area so that we are communicating everything that we're talking about, everything that we're doing, and all the tools that we have available to our partners. And one of the other things that we've done is about a month or so ago, announced a new service that we've been testing for a while called IBM's Internet of Things Foundation. And the IoT Foundation makes possible for a developer to quickly and easily extend an internet-connected device, such as a sensor or a controller, into the cloud, build an application alongside of it. We have development tools to go with it, and collect the data and send real-time insights back to use in the developer's business. So this is a new platform that's available for connecting to devices, analyzing that data, and then doing whatever it is that you want to do with it. And to go along with that, we've announced a number of partnerships in order to enable more and more devices. And part of the initial core group of partners that goes with this IoT Foundation announcement include ARM, B&B Electronics, Alexis, Intel, Multitech Systems, Texas Instruments. All of them will be bringing their devices and subsequent new devices into this IoT Foundation to make it as easy as possible to communicate and to use. The second key idea that I'd like to discuss today is that when you take all the different use cases and you take all the different ways that IoT is applied, we can aggregate it up to two basic use cases. One is that there are inventors of things, companies that want to build connectivity into their products and enable new services and invent and bring new offerings into the marketplace. And earlier I saw a show of hands. There's a whole bunch of you guys in here. The second is around operators. And there are others who want to operate something more efficiently and be able to bring every bit of optimization into whatever it is that they're operating, and they enable the Internet of Things to do that. And we have a whole bunch of clients that do both of those things, obviously. So let's say you're looking to invent new IoT offerings, and you need to innovate and improve products with interconnections in mind. Think about the type of data these products are generating or are capable of generating. What new connections are you making? How are you going to capitalize on those connections? How will you use the data? What insights are you able to uncover, and how will you leverage them to figure out what to do better? So let me give you a couple of examples. And the cool thing is that some of the clients we work with are very conventional, who work in very predictable ways, and 15 years ago we could have figured out what we might do with an IoT type application with them. Others are highly unconventional. So in Melbourne, Australia, we are working with the Yarra trams, the tram system there that runs the entire trams all around the city. 91,000 pieces of equipment are instrumented out to optimize how this tram runs. It keeps up and manages the schedules through all the connections as the trams are moving around. Predictive maintenance is a part of part of the solution, where mobile apps tell the maintenance engineers which trams they need to attend to and predictively figure out which ones may break down to maximize the uptime. The entire schedule, along with the whole ordering process for reserving tickets and so forth, are all available to consumers through mobile and cloud solutions that help increase the way that the tram runs reliably and to satisfaction of the users. So it's a broad, vast network that covers the whole city, and the IoT solution covers all of that. Contrast that with another invention example where Run Safe GPS was a winner of our hackathon at our last IBM Impact event, where they are taking crime data and using that to identify safe running routes for consumers. So completely unconventional connection of what would I do with my crime data, then you think of the conventional things you might do with that, but instead we're using it into a consumer application to help people find safe routes for running and exercise. So putting exercise and crime together may not be a conventional way of thinking about it, but that's when the fun starts, is when you come up with unconventional ways to put data together that wouldn't otherwise apply. So maybe you're also focused on operations, bringing things together to create new value. Doesn't matter if it's a global supply chain, production line, a fleet of rental cars, or server farms. Nowadays, you can say that cars and server farms have more in common than less. They're actually not that different from one another, just one's on wheels, perhaps. Being an operator might be about creating system using technology and multiple vendors, then analyzing, synthesizing, and optimizing, and fighting to make it work better, more seamlessly, more fluidly. And I'll give you a couple of, again, a conventional and an unconventional example. We just had an announcement with Pratt & Whitney a month or so ago, aircraft engines, where they are using our preventative maintenance technology to understand engine failures and be able to change the way that they're thinking about pricing engines. Before, you would buy an engine and you'd buy a service contract with it, and now maybe they would be transforming to a model where they would be guaranteeing the uptime of that engine and being able to simply sell it by its usage time. Completely different way and completely transformative for a very conservative industry, okay? And one of the other things that we recently had announced at our IBM Insight conference is that IBM will be having a very unique relationship with Twitter. And we will be a unique supplier of Twitter data, and we're going to be working with Twitter to develop new apps to do a variety of things with Twitter. We're putting together the use cases now that we want to think about. Well, one of the ones that a US local restaurant chain came to Twitter with is they wanted help in figuring out when their French fry machines needed preventative maintenance. And Twitter's like, huh? People don't tweet about that. Well, they kind of do. If you're upset with your food order and you send out tweets that your chips or your French fries are soggy, they're limp, they're not crisp, that's an early indicator that the French fry machines need preventative maintenance. So in a completely unconventional way, Twitter was able to take the streaming data that comes off of people talking about food and put it into an early indicator warning system for letting a company know that they need to service their French fry machines. So for operators, you have the conventional and the unconventional as well. Okay, I'm just about to. Okay. Second. The last point that I'll make is foundation is critical, and I'll give you two quick examples. We can talk about technology foundation, and IBM can talk for hours on end about architecture and infrastructure and all that, and there's been talk about that here today as well. But also talk about organizational and data infrastructure. Both on the data side, it's important to not lose sight that we need to think about all data. When I spoke about the Pratt & Whitney example a little while back, if we had just taken data off the engines as they were operating and tried to predict when that engine would fail, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked without having a whole bunch of other data that had nothing to do with an Internet of Things application to come off the engine. We needed all the service records. We needed maintenance logs. We needed maintenance logs that were sometimes handwritten. So the solution in giving a company that's very conservative the confidence to think about completely changing their pricing model for something as big a deal as their aircraft engine, and that they put as much effort into as an aircraft engine, comes from Internet of Things data off an engine, but it also comes from a bunch of other data. Some of it is manually, handwritten, optical recognition, analysis of unstructured data. All of that is as key to making all this work as all the cool stuff that's coming off the device. The second part is organization. And for the inventors who want to create interesting new product and interesting new applications and put it out there for people to buy, they have to make sure they set up the organization to enable it. So in order to create a connected car, we know that the chief technology officer and a bunch of engineers are going to create all the connectivity protocols and so on and so forth, apps and everything that goes into a connected car. But if you want to create new services from that are offered to the marketplace in a new way, and you have to own the customer instead of in a new way, you have to set up businesses and organizations to do that and to connect to those customers directly. And a lot of companies that have been in the product business traditionally don't have that in their organizational design, and that's a key part of enabling the Internet of Things as well. So I'm going to skip to the last slide here, and say the riskiest thing we can do is maintain the status quo. And I think that everybody in here, I'm preaching to the choir on that topic because everybody in here is aggressively investing and aggressively trying to make new things happen, and that's what we're trying to do with all of our clients as well. This was an overview presentation, of course, not conducive to showing anything or no, sorry, one more slide, to creating the demos, but for those of you who are in London and who are IBM clients or prospective clients and or those who are business partners, happy to talk to you further. And on December 10th, at our South Bank office, we're going to have a half-day Internet of Things overview where we will be talking about our solutions in greater detail, plenty of opportunity to discuss the solutions and get answers from our experts, and to be able to show, and we're going to be able to show the code and everything and how it works, and then hook it up to some devices and make it all work. So for those of you that are interested, December 10th, please contact me at the addresses you see there, and I'll be happy to see if I can get you a seat. We'll be at our executive briefing centers in South Bank. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kal.